Hey everyone, I'm going to give you a quick rundown on how to play HSD2. As is the case with most games, there are a lot of abilities and nuances that will modify what you're about to learn while you play, but at its core, the game runs on this basic mechanism. Every character has 3 stats: mind, body, and community. In each stat there are 2 traits: exert, which is your do-it trait, and perceive, which is your notice-it trait. That's it, 6 scores total. Each character also has a handful of proficiencies, which indicate specific activities they're particularly good or sometimes bad at. There's a total of 13 of these that cover your overall range of activities. When your character wants to do something challenging enough that there is a chance of failure involved, they will roll a pair of dice determined by their trait score and add the applicable proficiency to the score as a bonus. Their goal is to get 12 or higher. Let's say they have a door to break down. This is a body exert task because it's physical and they're trying to force something. The best proficiency for this task is athletics, though you can be a bit flexible on this if it fits the narrative. I'd accept close quarters combat if the character wanted to say they were trying for precision strike rather than a general pounding. If we determine that the character is equal to the task, then they roll 2d8 plus their athletics proficiency score. We'll say 2 in this case. On a 12 or better, the door goes down. The dice that are rolled are determined by the character's trait score, body exert in this case, and the difficulty scale of the task at hand, 0 through 6, determined by the guide. If the trait score is equal to the difficulty, say they have a 2 in body exert and the difficulty to drop the door is also a 2, then they roll 2d8 for their dice. As they become better than the difficulty, their dice increases. If they had a 3 in body exert and the door's difficulty was a 2, they would roll d8 plus d10. If they had a 4, d10 plus d10, and so on up to a max of 2d12. The same works in reverse. If the door was a 3 and the character was a 2, they'd roll d8 plus d6. If the door was a 4, d6 and d6, and on down to a minimum of d4 plus d4. Establishing a task difficulty is the guide's job and mostly consists of the following question. Is the task abnormally challenging, like breaking into a bank vault or climbing a mountain with a car on your back? If it is, the difficulty rating is going to be somewhere in the 4 through 6 range. If it's a more terrestrial challenge, like shoving a heavy box aside or kicking a door weak enough to actually be kicked open, it's going to be in the 0 to 3 range. From there, you can flavor to taste. Parties that like to really take into account how an environment is behaving will tilt toward the higher ends of the difficulty scale to accommodate things like noise, lighting, stress, and others. Parties that like consistency may want all of the checks of the same type to have the same difficulty regardless of the environment. The book includes examples and ideas for both styles, but ultimately you can skew this based on what success rate you enjoy the most. The system includes a lot of ways to make your character better or worse at specific tasks, including things like rerolls, +1s, die manipulation, and other fun limited use abilities for saving your butt. But ultimately, this is the core mechanic. Compare your stat score to the difficulty of the task, roll the appropriate 2 dice, and add your proficiency score, aiming for a 12. The player always knows what number they're trying to hit and can use their abilities to help them get there without fear of investing into a hopeless cause, reflecting the character actually being there and having an accurate view of the situation. The guide can dynamically change the difficulty scores based on player decisions without having to do any major legwork because the span of available appropriate difficulties is generally only 1 or 2 numbers. Just increment the difficulty up or down by 1 to make things easier or harder depending on the environment or the situation.